Good morning, everyone. Hello, as the sun is beaming directly into my face. My name is Riz, and you know why we're here. We're going to do a roleplay review this morning, this time for Kerwin's Log Unjust Recruitment. Now, I know that the image I have on here is pretty extreme. It's pretty wild. That image actually kind of has nothing to do with the log itself, except for a couple of things, which we'll kind of get into a little bit later. But yes, hello, welcome. So in this log, if I could, I'm gonna move this over here, and I'm gonna move y'all over here. In this log, it's Kerwin and his whole cast of NPCs that he has from Orthos, with Kalstros Blackrose, Dreyfus Darkheart, Lark Thomas, Psyche Taylor, Jessica Chambers, Zachary Alfrom, Cadera Winters, Alonzo Fairwind, and honorable mentions, Nova. And the type is drama, combat, and character development, more heavily on the drama and character development, a little bit of combat. And the summary is: the residents of Orthos have questions about their new friend. Kerwin reveals himself to be an agent of chaos. And I read through this log, and I've got to say that this log has probably one of the best plot twists that I've ever read on page I won't say ever, but in a very, very, very long time. This one had me, I won't really say shook. I don't feel like shook's like the right thing to say, but it definitely left an impression on me. It definitely, it got to me. The story got to me, right? And, funny enough, I was having the other day a conversation with Eichenbahn, and they were saying how they wanted to do a plot with one of their characters, and I said to them directly, like, I have, reader questions. And what I mean by reader questions are things that I, the reader, would ask, and not necessarily me, the admin, right? So I've always talked about Game of Thrones, like, when you watch an episode of Game of Thrones, you wonder what's going on with the characters, you wonder what's going on with the plot and what the story is going. You don't necessarily want it answered, you don't need it answered. It would just be, with the information that I'm given, me as a reader, me as a consumer of this media, I have questions. And I had a lot of reader questions for Kerwin coming up into this log. And kind of like what was said about one of my stories a while ago, is that this piece of media, this one log itself, in of itself, doesn't hold a lot of weight, but it's the compilation, it's the coming togetherness of the story that has been told the entire time along the way, which gives this one its weight. Like, it is kind of like the anchor being of the story being told. And when I read it and I got through it, I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I had no idea that this is where the story was going. And now all of the things that I had questioned and doubted before as a reader and an admin, now it all makes sense, right? And this is a classic instance of, Riz, shut the hell up and let me tell my story. Like I feel so glad and confident in this one, because it just proves that, like, Kerwin is a good writer, and it also reinforces that, when we do these reviews, when we do these videos, like, we are not here to judge, we're not here to criticize. We should be here to highlight and display the things that are great about our writers and our community and the stories that are being told. And I feel like this is a good one of those where, I kind of had doubts of where the story was going, and it came out as a big shebang. So what happens in this log? Well, it's dealing with all of the Orthos characters, and along the way, Kerwin's kind of been this kind of outsider, and nobody really knew, like, who he was, why he was here. And you always had this feeling that everybody was very, very skittish around this dude. Everybody was like kind of mean and dickish to this guy for seemingly no reason. And they were always picking on him, like throwing him overboard, torturing him at some point. And come to find out, they were right. So the reason for this picture that's over here, right? The guy with all the ravens around him breaking his chains and coming free, and looking kind of evil, is because that's what Kerwin kind of came out to be. So long story short, very short surmise of this story. Kerwin's out doing another fishing run, and they kind of like lure him into, from what it read, it was like a dungeon of some sort, and they chain him up and they start beating on him, and they're like, tell us who you are, tell us what's going on, like you're not giving us the full story. And then finally he just breaks out, right? He's kind of had enough of being picked on by these guys, and he picks everybody apart. Like, I want to say there's like 7 or 8 of them, and they don't stand a chance, right? And come to find out, the one being recruited was not Kerwin into their like cabal of evil, but rather he was recruiting these people. And like he was the one who went out and searched for these guys in Orthos, and was specifically looking for them, and he names them by name, of like, Dreyfus, you were known for this. Callistos, you were known for this. And he kind of has been masterminding this whole kind of operation the entire time. And, that's when I was like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. Because while the battle with Swansong kind of alluded to Kerwin maybe not being the nicest, most honorable person, I didn't see the heel turn, right? I didn't see the full-on... And at this point, he's not really a villain, although I kind of hope that he does become one slowly. Like, he doesn't need to be maniacal, evil, like cackling on top of a bus of burning, nuns or something like that. But I think we kind of need more people who are villainous in nature, right? They don't need to necessarily be a bad guy, but they do need to be kind of villainous, because right now it's very tipped heavily in the hero's favor as far as PCs on channel. And I think he would be a good villain, right? It would definitely break Nova's heart, because when she met him, she thought he was just this merchant who was here to trade goods, and was all excited to see that, people were bringing community and bringing like society back on Vegeta. And then come to find out, like, this dude's like probably masterminding to take the throne for himself. I don't know, but she definitely didn't see any sort of villainous in this. But she's also a terrible judge of character and all this other stuff. So we come to find out, like, he's working for this person named Master Cade, which I think is his brother from Vera, and I think that's another part of the story that we can probably touch on. But yeah, big plot twist. Curran was the one who was kind of recruiting these people and letting them do all these bad things to him, kind of to test him out. And it's it was a good plot twist. And Lai did put a month ago, put up a response to this log, and I'm going to read through it, because I think, having somebody else's perspective other than mine can also tell you, how people felt about it. But he did pull out kind of like the same quote that he really liked, that I really liked. And the quote is, "Cheap parlor tricks are not going to help you here, boy." And he says that he read that with a certain passiveness up until this point, but because of the environment wasn't laid out too well, someone provokes him and calls him boy, and it was rarely ends peacefully. And Lai just, is kind of getting himself reacquainted to what's going on. And I understand that, from his perspective, is a little different because he didn't have the knowledge of all these characters leading up to it. And you, I'm gonna kind of surmise and skip through it, but he basically says that, like, from Kaltos's wordy audacity, because we can't have a villain without going through their monologue monologue of evil. He says you can't go around calling the protag of the log a boy and not end up humbled. And Kerwin is putting together a rogue type for some sort of work, and his new recruits are being manipulated to become more respectable members of the community. And he strong arms them to become his muscle. And, Lai kind of came to the same conclusion that everything is kind of building up to Kerwin building his power base. And, at the time he was tier 0, and it's hard to be a villain when there's so many, heroes, chomping at the bit to be heroes, and be low leveled. It's very hard to do that. So how do you do it? Well, you do have to build up a power base. You have to, you kind of have to make your NPCs kind of be the cannon fodder to go out and just, lose at a whim. And, it's like, you start here, you have Goldo, and then you go up to Recruitment, Jason Birder, Captain Ginyu, Frieza. And if you're going to be Frieza, you got to set up all these other people to show that, I'm not the one to be messed with. I'm up here, all these guys are down there. So in doing the combat that happened in this log, Kerwin kind of set that up, saying, like, I've already taken out all of these people. And so I am the strongest of all of them. But, they're going to kind of grow in power when I grow in power. And, I think RPC, you guys got to sit down and figure out how followers are going to work. Because, we got people with followers. So I'm kind of going off on a tangent. But yeah, that's... Overall, I think this was a great read. It definitely was a capstone on the Unjust story that had been told. And I do feel like this is probably the end of that, right? I like that Kerwin is now, role-playing with other players and, he's constantly been recently looking for other people to role-play with. On both Discord and just being in game. And I know that, like, Swan Song's got another log with them. Galvus has a couple of logs with them. I think he even has one with Cornell. So dude's been on the role play gauntlet, so to say. So that's all I really have. I think this was a great job. Again, it humbled me and my you don't know it all. Just sit down, keep your hands and feet inside and enjoy the ride. And I did enjoy my time, so I'm not going to take any more of your time. Thank you for it, and I will see you guys next time.